This is my ATTR 756 reflection of my stakeholder education project. Just in a little overview of what I plan to do in the beginning of the semester and then what I sort of ended up doing. I had to change my lesson plans multiple times, just adjust a couple little things when giving or receiving feedback from my instructor and also my peers, and sort of reflecting on the flow and my resources and the feasibility of my lesson plan as we went throughout the semester. So my audience, my plan, and the content that was actually delivered. My initial plan was to meet with the athletic director and sort of implement and inform. So what I really wanted to do, kind of step one, was to talk to the athletic director and sort of get their thoughts on the current status of Indiana State as it pertains to LGBT inclusion, safety in the athletic training room and in the athletic department in general. I wanted to implement the You Can Play, which is basically an organization whose mission is to ensure the safety and inclusion of LGBT athletes, fans, athletic trainers, sort of anyone who has anything to do with the athletic department at an institution. Their mission really is to challenge the current culture of locker rooms. There's a lot of, in my observations, there's a lot of language that's used in the athletic training rooms from different sports that would make me feel, as an LGBT athlete, like I was hesitant to come and receive patient care from the athletic training room, which I think is a problem. The organization really focuses on, or challenges you to focus on, the athlete's work ethic, their competitive spirit, their inner drive, rather than their sexual orientation, or as they identify, of whoever they identify with. That's completely irrelevant. All they focus on is their talent. So that was my current plan in the beginning of the semester when I wrote up this lesson plan. I had several barriers to implementation, the first being there was an interim athletic director, and then there was a new athletic director that was hired, and the timeline really just didn't fit with my lesson plan. I wanted to implement and then assess by mid-semester. That didn't actually happen because of the timeline of hiring, and the feasibility of the original lesson plan really wasn't what I wanted it to be. So taking that feedback and reflection of where I wanted to go with this project, I sort of altered it a little bit and changed my audience and sort of my teaching plan. So what I ended up actually doing was a meeting with Dr. Irvin, who is the Director of Multicultural Services and Programs, and she has a lot to do with LGBT resources on Indiana State's campus. And what I wanted to do is kind of get her thoughts on our current status, our Indiana State's current status of LGBT inclusion as it relates to student athletes. So I presented a multitude of things. The first being our Campus Pride Index score. Currently it's a 3.5 out of 5, and you actually get a 3.5 simply by filling out the application and submitting it online. So really what that means is Indiana State has done nothing more but simply fill out the application and submit it. And I think that is a problem, especially if, as a student athlete, an LGBT student athlete, you're deciding on what college you want to come to. Perhaps you go on Campus Pride Index and you look up Indiana State and you see a poor score. Maybe that'll hinder their choice to actually attend Indiana State. I also presented the You Can Play and the Safe Sport Pledge. The Safe Sport Pledge is basically a petition to ensure that athletes coming into the athletic training room, or athletic trainers coming into the athletic training room, or really other stakeholders will do 3 things. Respect each other, so respect anyone, respect yourself. Stand up, so stand up if you hear a derogatory term used, or stand up if you feel very strongly about inclusion. Do something about it. And also sign on. So as a pledge of this safe sport area, you agree to all of those terms. You agree to walk into whatever area, whether it be the athletic training room or a locker room or a practice field. You will kind of be cognizant and aware of your actions and your words. So that's really where I saw this lesson plan going from start to finish. I think that it had some successes and it had some failures. In terms of my relationship with Dr. Irvin and my relationship with the athletic director, I had no prior relationship with these 2 people. So I think my initiative to actually be involved in this process and be involved in these policies, or lack thereof, enhanced my relationship with Dr. Irvin before I even really met her. We had some email exchange, and she was very excited and happy that a student was taking a bit of initiative on their own part, not only because it's assignment, but it's something that I'm passionate about. So I think that relationship really did help going into the meeting. My demeanor and attitude, I just really approached the meeting as very open-minded. I had 3 to 4 talking points and proposals, which I talked about earlier, but really I wanted to get this person's thoughts on where we are and where she sees us going, and if she even thought that this was a problem. I really didn't know her, and I didn't know her stance, other than she's the director of the Diversity Center. So maybe she was happy with the current status of LGBT student athletes. Maybe she's happy with the current status of the athletic department and its inclusion policies. So really my approach and my demeanor attitude was just open-minded. My assessment and follow-up plan, initially my assessment was a successful meeting with the athletic director. That changed throughout the semester to a successful meeting with Dr. Irvin. And my follow-up assessment was really an email exchange after our meeting to ensure that we were still on track to meet with the new athletic director together. So Dr. Irving really did express interest in 2 things. The first, the You Can Play and the pledge, and the second, which he thought would even be more effective than the pledge, was to have myself and the athletic trainers that are interested attend ally training in the summer. So basically, she really thought that the ally training would be more effective than the Safe Sport Pledge, which is part of the reason that the Safe Sport Pledge is not hung up in the athletic training room yet. So my assessment, I think my long-term follow-up, not necessarily 3 weeks, although there was a 3-week email exchange, my long-term follow-up and where I see this project continuing is if I can attend the ally training and then take the information back to the athletic trainers and hopefully get the athletic trainers to attend with me. So once this training is attended, basically what that means is the athletic training room, particularly in the arena, because that's where I will be a safe sport or a safe zone. So there will be a plaque outside of the door that essentially says this is an LGBT safe zone. So I think Dr. Irvin and I agreed that that would be more effective than just the pledge, but really something that's visible and that will stay for a longer period of time. So I do think that my assessment in that way was effective, but my long-term follow-up will really be assessed in the summer after that ally training. Why did I choose this particular approach? Really, I guess I feel like giving the stakeholder a questionnaire or a post-knowledge follow-up or a piece of paper to assess learning that was just inappropriate for this setting. I thought that worked really well with my peers and my colleagues, but I was approaching this meeting as kind of go with it and see what happens. So giving the learner long-term follow-up I thought was inappropriate. So I just kind of did the successful meeting and then successful follow-up. What did I do if my stakeholder failed to make change? I think I'm not able to answer that question yet because we haven't followed up long-term for that ally training. So if I don't hear from her, I guess my approach would be to continue emailing and continue expressing interest and maybe just asking the athletic trainers, my peers, my colleagues, hey, are you interested in this? So then I can take that information to Dr. Irvin again and say, hey, look at all of these people that are interested. Can we still do this? So 3 suggestions for improvement or correction on this lesson plan, I guess, would just be to involve the staff more. My goal in this project, or part of it, one part of the procedure was to involve Shelley in this process. I didn't, simply because I was afraid of her shutting down this entire idea and then me not being able to implement anything else. And I didn't feel like she was very accessible this semester. So I kind of bypassed that area. That may have been the right choice, that may have been the wrong choice, but in hindsight, maybe I can have an open mind and not try to be biased on her answer to implement something. My second suggestion would likely be to assess interest in my colleagues first before setting up this meeting with the stakeholder, because after I was sort of talking about what I did and what my plan was with my peers, there were probably 3 to 4 people that thought that it was really valuable, and maybe that would have gave me a little bit more leverage in my meeting as well if I could say, like, hey, there's 3 more athletic trainers that are also really interested in this. So maybe if Dr. Irving realized that there's multiple athletic trainers and staff in the athletic department that are interested, maybe we would have moved further quicker. My third correction would be to involve or to propose multiple organizations. I had the You Can Play, I had the Safe Sport Pledge, and I had the Campus Pride Index, but really there is a multitude of organizations and indexes and institutional resources that Indiana State is just simply not involved with. And I think, like I said earlier, if an athlete is interested in Indiana State and identifies with the LGBT community, they would be hesitant to come here. So if I think next time I can bring even more resources, and I think this was an important first step, but down the line, I think we can keep pushing and keep moving forward.